Hey, welcome back, bookworms and constant readers. You saw the thumbnail? Yes, I finally did it. After close to 40 years now, I completed Dune. This video is a little late getting to you all. I got my data back for my thesis and I had no idea how much it was going to be, so I've been looking at that. I actually finished this book like 2 weeks ago. So yeah, I'm just now getting to the review, and probably next week I'll have the next video up, and it will be on Stephen King's Just After Sunset. I'm almost finished with it. I think I have like 3, maybe 4 short stories, and it'll be ready for a review. So let's get into it. Usually we start with the covers, but I thought since we do have some new subscribers here in the last few months, if you haven't seen all my other videos, that I would just really quickly go over why this book was so significant that I finished it. Up until this point, it has been the only book in my entire life that I have never finished. I've read some crappy books, but this one I had never finished. Every time I tried reading it, I quit. And so before this attempt, I had tried to read this book like 3 other times, 4 other, I think it's 3 other times. So the first time I was like 8 years old, and it was so slow and it was so boring that I think maybe I got over like 50 pages and I put it down. And what first got me into this book was someone had told me that George Lucas got a lot of his inspiration for Star Wars and some of the stuff that is in Star Wars from this book. And so that kind of piqued my interest because I've always been a huge Star Wars fan. I was 3 years old when the first Star Wars came out. I still remember going to the theater with my mom to see it. I have seen every single Star Wars movie in the theaters, all the TV shows. I've read most of the books. I haven't read all the books. I've even read some of the comics. I love Star Wars. And as an 8-year-old kid, I was like, this has nothing to do with Star Wars. Like, I just didn't get it. And so years later, I think I was around 11, the second time, I had a friend who was really into sci-fi, and he said, like many others, this is the greatest science fiction novel ever written. You have to read it. I told him, I tried to read that book. It was boring. He convinced me to try again. That time, I think I got close to like 150 pages. And again, it was just so boring and so dull that I had no interest in reading it. I quit reading it. And then it wasn't until years later, and now thinking back, I've tried to read this book like 4 times. This is the 5th time and I finally finished it. I was like 16, 17, somewhere around in there. And then the last time I tried reading it, I was in the Navy. I was on board the USS Carl Vinson. It's an aircraft carrier, CVN 70. And there's really not much to do when you're out at sea if you're not working. And a lot of times if you are working, it's just sitting around doing nothing. So you don't get a lot of TV or anything. Basically, the ship has 2 channels. It has the flight deck channel, which you can see what's going on out there. If nothing's going on, you're watching nothing. And then the second is run on board the ship, and all they show are like movies, back-to-back movies. And for like 2 weeks, they were constantly showing the 80s movie Dune. And I thought, and I still do, that this is just, it's a horrible movie. And it got me thinking of all the times I tried to read the book and couldn't get through it. And I thought, this is the perfect time to try again. I was 19 at the time, and this was the furthest I ever got in the book before putting it down and just like, this is so boring. So I got like 100 and I'd say like 75 pages, and I just couldn't take it anymore. I was like, this is just boring. There's nothing excitable about this book. And so I put it away and I was like, I'm done with it. I've tried 4 times now to read this book. I don't like it. Why do I keep trying? Well, then the movie from, I think it was last year, it was either 2020 or 2021, the Timothée Chalamet version of Dune came out. And everybody is raving about this movie. And so the only reason I watched this movie was because it had Timothée Chalamet in it. And I really like him as an actor. And it had Oscar Isaac in it, which I knew from Star Wars. I really like him. And it had Jason Momoa in it. I really like him. And it looked way better than the 80s movie. So I watched it and absolutely loved the movie. I thought it was amazing. Very, very well done. Very well shot. And so I was thinking, I need to try and read this book again. Why don't I remember the book being as good as this movie was? And so I decided that this summer was the summer that I was going to do it, that I would have a little bit of a break, and no matter how long it took me, I was going to finish this book. I finally finished it. So, let's get into the review. We'll start with the covers because I actually have 3 different versions of this book. So the first one I bought was it was a one of those Barnes and Noble leather bound editions. I really like those. There's a bunch of them that I want to get. I'm still buying them, and so that was the first copy I picked up. And I've shown this on the channel before. These are beautiful editions of books, and they have all kinds of these at Barnes & Noble. It's got gold leaf pages. It's got the little ribbon bookmark. This is the book that I mainly read. Very cool. So I started with this copy, and then this one I would totally give like a 10 out of 10 by the way, or a 5 out of 5 if you go by my rating system. I mean, these are incredible, and when you look at it's $25 for these. I mean, it can't be beat. They're beautiful books. They look good on a shelf. I have a couple. They're just out of frame right here that you can see. My H.P. Lovecraft, Edgar Allan Poe, and Anne Rice Vampire Chronicles. I have a bunch of these. The next one I bought because it is still the most beautiful book that I have ever seen. And that's why I bought it, was because it was just so gorgeous. And this is the anniversary edition. And I've shown this on the channel before. This is another 5 out of 5. It's got this cool foil cover. Look, the pages are dyed blue. And then you open it up. It has this beautiful artwork. Even the dust jacket has this beautiful artwork on the back. It's got this embossing on the front. I don't know if you can read it, but it says, "Fear is the mind killer." I mean, this book is it's gorgeous. And so I had to have it. There's some more of the back artwork. Continuing with that dust jacket artwork. There's some embossing here. I don't know if you can see that. It's a beautiful, beautiful book. This cover, 5 out of 5. I mean, they nailed it. It is truly amazing. That's probably one of the most favorite books that I own, just on looks. And then finally, I got this one because usually everywhere I go, I have a book with me. And I like paperbacks and I like mass market paperbacks. I never carry a hardback with me because I don't want it to get tore up. And so I bought the paperback version. This, on a scale of 1 to 5, I give it like a 2. If you get the set of these, they look cool on a shelf. They all match. But it's pretty just plain, nothing special to it. But this is my least favorite. So this book was written, I think, in I want to say 65. And it still holds up today. This book is beautifully written. And it doesn't seem dated when you read it. So what's it about? Basically, it's about these warring houses and control over this planet. I think you pronounce it Arrakis, also known as Dune. And this is where, like, you really see similarities between it and Star Wars, because it's like a desert planet. It reminds me a lot of Tatooine. And the reason they're fighting over this planet is because this planet has spice on it, and this spice is used as a drug. It's also used for fuel. And whatever house controls this planet becomes insanely rich. And this is one of the parts of the book that I think really isn't explained well. And you have, all we know is you have an emperor who, like, rules over everything. And then you have these houses, and Dune is about 2 houses, House Harkonnen and House Atreides. And for whatever reason, House Harkonnen is leaving the planet, and House Atreides is supposed to take over. But the Emperor and House Harkonnen have cooked up this grand scheme to annihilate House Atreides and take the planet back. And the book is divided up into 3 separate books. You have book 1, which covers how all this is going to go down, taking out the head of House Atreides, Duke Leto. And book 2 is about the journey through the desert that Duke Leto's son, Paul, and his mother take, and they find the like local indigenous tribes on the planet called the Fremen, and they actually become a part of these people. And then book 3 deals with how Paul Atreides is going to get his revenge. And the basis of the story is the Fremen people of this planet. They have this old religious it's like a prophecy that an outsider to their world is going to come and going to be like their Messiah, their Savior. And they think the moment they see Paul and his mother, that Paul is the Savior to these people. And it's very, like, you can totally see, here's another, plot that George Lucas took for Star Wars, with Anakin Skywalker is the chosen one, and it's this book is really written like a biography or like an autobiography, and this book is really slow. I mean, it is super slow. There's a lot of this book where nothing is going on. If you're looking for like sci-fi that has like action and adventure and everything like similar to like the Expanse books, this is not it. This is a very, very slow book. It takes like 200 plus pages before you actually get to the assassination. And there's also these weird time jumps in the story that aren't explained, and you start reading the next chapter, and it takes you a couple pages before you figure out what is going on. If any of you follow me on Goodreads, I gave the book like a 4 out of 5. I would really give it like a 3.5 out of 5. It's just not for me. It was really, really slow. I thought it was really boring. But the last 60 pages, maybe even like 75 to 100 pages, are the best in the book, and it makes reading the book worth it. The ending is incredible. Totally enjoyed it. Getting through the first like 400 or 500 pages to read the last 75 to 100 pages, I'm telling you, it's totally worth it. Stick with it. There's a lot of stuff that you may not understand, but it's so worth it. You get like the ending that you wanted, and that alone to me made it worth it, because there is a lot of dryness to this book. There's a lot of times where I'm just like, what is the point to all this? Let's go, let's do something, and there's not a lot happening in this book. But I went into it thinking this was going to be like, like a Star Wars or like a Star Trek or Expanse type story. I wasn't expecting it to be kind of like a biography, autobiography type novel. So maybe if I read it again, it would be better. But I don't hold it, and maybe because it's just before my time, I don't know, but I don't hold it in such high regard as other readers and other booktubers and stuff do. Like, is it the best science fiction book I've ever read? No. Was it fun to read? The ending was super fun, but getting to the ending was a bear. And the only reason I didn't stop reading it this time is because I had, swore an oath to myself, I'm going to read this book. And I read it. Would I read it again? Maybe I would, because if you don't know, this is a trilogy. So this is only book 1 of the trilogy. Now there are other Dune books past the trilogy, but Frank Herbert, he wrote it as a trilogy. This is book one. Book two is, I believe, Dune Messiah. And then book three is Children of Doom. I could be wrong about that. If I am, comment below. But I may have the order of them reversed. But the two follow-up books, those are the names of them. Dune Messiah and The Children of Dune. And getting to that ending makes it so worth reading the book, because I cannot tell you how good the ending of this book is. And it's not like, yay, it's over. It is genuinely the ending that you want to happen. And getting through Paul and his mother surviving this assassination attempt, learning how to cross the desert, because you just don't walk across the desert, you'll die. Because there's these giant worms out in the desert that they're attracted to like rhythmic noise, and so you can't just go walking across the sands, or they'll kill you. But learning all this, and becoming one of the Fremen, becoming their leader, guiding these people to take back their planet, the planning and the scheming that Paul goes through to get his revenge for his family, for his father. It is so worth it to read it all the way to the end and see how this all plays out. But getting to the ending is a bear. It is slow going. It is extremely dull and dry at times, no pun intended. So yeah, right now, the way it stands, I give it a 3.5 out of 5. It was okay. The ending total 5 out of 5. But getting to the ending and the book as a whole, 3.5 out of 5. That's all I have for you for this review. It may be unpopular with a lot of people watching this, but it's just my opinion on this book. If you loved it, great. I don't judge people for what they read. Just as long as you're reading books. Like I said, up next on the channel is Just After Sunset by Stephen King. It is a collection of short stories. I believe there's 14 in all. I will be going through all 14, telling you what the stories are about and giving you my individual rating on each story. There are some really good ones. There are some really bad ones. That's all I have. That video should be out sometime next week, because like I said, I am almost done with it. I don't know what I'm going to read after Stephen King. Haven't decided yet. I should know that in the next video. So until next time, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Like, subscribe, do all that cool stuff. Helps the channel grow. I'm growing at a snail's pace. I don't know if I'll ever hit 100 subscribers. We'll see. But that's all I got, guys. Till next time, read more books.